Welcome to the Switch Style Podcast, where we encourage you to think beyond what you hear. I'm your host, and I go by the name of Smooth. And audience, welcome back to the podcast. This is actually episode 67. Got a great show coming up for you all, and thanks again for tuning in. But before I jump into anything, I want to let you guys know that you can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And also follow me on Twitter at Jack's Journal. That's JACS Journal. And last but not least, the Switch Style Podcast, it is brought to you by jacksjournal.com. That's JACSjournal.com. On Jack's Journal, you can find all of my written takes and the podcast itself. So check that out. But guys, we'll go ahead and jump into it. I'll actually update the Billboard charts for you. I'll let you know what's coming out this Friday, July 14th. And last but not least, I'm actually talking about Big Boi's latest album, which is titled Boomiverse. So let's go ahead and jump into it. On the Billboard 200, DJ Khaled earns a second week at number 1 with Grateful. The 23-track album earned 70,000 units in its second week. 16,000 of those were traditional album sales. Superstar DJ producer Calvin Harris slides in at number 2 with Funkwave Bounces Volume 1. The Star-Loaded effort earned 68,000 units, 23,000 of those were traditional album sales. And last but not least, Stone Sour, they land at number 8 with Hydrograd. The rock band earned 33,000 units of Hydrograd in its first week. 30,000 of those were traditional album sales. And let's actually move to the Hot 100. And surprise, surprise, Despacito rules for a 9th consecutive week. Man, this thing has been at number 1 for a long time. 9 weeks, that's a long time. That's 2 months and a week. So, congrats to them. And if you don't know, Despacito, it's sung by Luis Fonsi, Daddy Yankee, and Justin Bieber. And also, quick nugget for you. Despacito became the first mostly Spanish song to top the radio songs chart. So, congrats to them for that. In other news, on the Hot 100's top 10, French Montana, he earns his second top 10 on the Hot 100 as Unforgettable with Sway Lee. And audience, if you don't know, Sway Lee is one half of Ray Shremmerd, who topped the chart last year with Black Beatles. But Unforgettable, it jumped from number 13 to number 10, and it's just in time because actually his latest album is actually coming out this Friday, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But congrats to French Montana and Sway Lee, Stone Sour, Calvin Harris, DJ Khaled, and Luis Fonsi, Daddy Yankee, and Justin Bieber. They all had a great week on the charts this week. So congrats to them. So we'll go ahead and jump to what's new. So this Friday, July 14th, look out for new albums from English R&B star Daley. He's back with his sophomore effort, The Spectrum. And audience, if you haven't heard Daley, please go check this guy out. I love Daley. He's very smooth. He sort of reminds you of the singer from Simply Red. His name is not coming to me. But Daley, he's very smooth, very vocally gifted. So if you haven't heard Daley, please go check him out. He actually has a single with Jill Scott that's making its way around radio right now. So if you haven't heard that, go check that out. But check out Daley. It's Daley. But last but not least, after a false start last year with MC4, French Montana, he's back with Jungle Rules, and they actually scrapped his MC4 album last year. They had a lot of problems clearing samples, so they just scrapped it and started over. I'm sure some of that stuff will probably be on Jungle Rules, so we'll see this Friday. But again, look out for Daley. He's back with The Spectrum, and French Montana, he's back with Jungle Rules. So if you're here, you probably came here to listen to the Big Boi album review. And if you don't know Big Boi, I'll tell you a little bit about him before I give you my take on it. And if you haven't heard me before, like I said, I just like to give you a quick bio. Just like to bring you up to speed and tell you a little bit about the artist before we get started. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Antoine Andre Patton was born February 1st, 1975 in Savannah, Georgia, but moved to Atlanta as a kid. Big Boi met his future rap partner, Andre Benjamin, also known as Andre 3000, in 1991 while they attended Tri-Cities High School. The duo eventually became Outkast and released a series of multi-platinum albums, including Southern Playlist to Cadillac Music in 1994, AT Aliens followed in 96, Aquemini in 1998, Stankonia in 2000, Speakerbox The Love Below 2003, and Idlewild in 2006. They then took a break in the mid-2000s, but Big Boi, he embarked on his own solo career, starting with his debut album, Sir Lucius Left Foot, the son of Chico Dusty, in 2010. Vicious Lies and Dangerous Rumors followed in 2012, and he partnered with indie electronic duo Phanogram for an EP titled Big Grams in 2015. The album that we're talking about tonight, Boomiverse, it arrived June of this year, 2017, and debuted at number 28 on the Billboard 200. If you don't know Big Boi, he's currently signed to Epic Records, where the guy that actually signed him to the face was over Epic Records, and I'm talking about L.A. Reid. But if you've kept up with the news, L.A. Reid is no longer over Epic Records. But back to Big Boi. Just to list some career accolades, today he sold over 21 million in U.S. album sales, and that's just the U.S. alone. That's not including what they've done worldwide. He's collected 6 Grammy Awards, and his biggest hits include The Way You Move, Miss Jackson, Elevators, So Fresh and So Clean, and Kryptonite. And it's actually So Fresh, So Clean. Big Boi, he's also done movies as well. The latest thing that he did that I saw him in was actually, if you watch the TV series Star on Fox, he actually had a role in that this season. And I'm not sure, he might actually reprise his role on the coming season, which should be out in probably September or October. So we'll see what happens with that. So I'll go ahead and give you guys my take on Big Boi's latest album, which is titled Boomiverse. Left of center thinking, uncommon originality, and constant revision are all printable traits of the legendary hip-hop duo Outkast. Big Boi, the more comically conscious of the duo, is the only half currently active, but he continually carries the torch in trademark fashion. The Atlanta native's third solo album, and this is his fourth if you count 2015's Big Grams. That was actually, like I told you earlier, it was the joint project with indie electronic duo Phanogram. But Boomiverse, it's an eclectic batch of ideas that could only exist in a world fit for an explorer such as himself. On the surface, it appears as a big-budget album with grand ideas only capable of being executed with the help of a stellar supporting cast. The Grammy winner recruits a star lineup of producers, and those producers include Organized Noise, Scott Storch, Dr. Luke, and Manny Fresh. They all assist in the creation of his expansive universe. It is also worth noting that Organized Noise, and if you don't know Organized Noise, there's a great documentary. I think it's still on Netflix. I hope it is, but there's a great documentary on Netflix. It traces their rise and fall through the music industry, and now they've risen again. But Organized Noise, they were pretty much responsible for Outkast, Goody Mob, along with some other acts. And some of their biggest hits were TLC's, Waterfalls, and some other stuff. But go check out Organized Noise. Amazing production trio. But like I was saying, it is worth noting that the legendary production trio, most responsible for Big Boi and Outkast's otherworldly status, they supported nearly every behind-the-scene capacity on Boomiverse. Throughout, the AT Alien effortlessly slices through an assortment of changing soundscapes with malleable flows. Former protege and half of Run the Jewels, Killer Mike, he lends a hand on the bouncy Kill Jill, while Jeezy adds a stressless hook. And Jeezy is Young Jeezy. He just dropped the Young recently, maybe a couple years ago. Maroon 5 frontman Adam Levine adds to the atmospheric Mike Jack, and In the South is a revival of UGK's enduring sound. And audience, In the South, it also features Gucci Mane and the late Pimp C. Big Boi, he then shares financial advice on the practical order of operations. All Night plays like a juke joint jam that would have been perfect for Outkast's 2006 feature film Idlewild, which accompanied the album of the same name. Big Boi flirts with EDM on the Troze-coated chocolate, and Manny Fresh provides his sorely missed wobbly bounce on Flow D's. On Boomiverse, Big Boi admits to overthinking, and it is partly the reason he is such a revered figure in hip-hop history. He's also of the mindset that amazing ideas will and always be born out of individuality. Outkast was always at their best when they challenged themselves with expansive concepts far beyond the thinking of us normal beings. At this point, it's probably safe to say that Big Boi is incapable of creating a body of work that follows current trends or standards. He's always steered clear of the crowd, and it has served him well. Let's just be thankful that didn't change on Boomiverse. So there you go, audience. That was actually my take on it. It was pretty short. It's probably the shortest one I've done in a while, but I actually like Big Boi's album. It's a very eclectic mix. I mean, he jumps from genre to genre, and it's, like I said, it's a trademark of the Outkast sound. They were always different. They always stood out among the crowd. If you look at each and every one of their albums, they always stood out. They never followed current trends. But honestly, a lot of what distracted me with this album were the big budget producers, and this is probably the first album that I've seen in a long time that included such big name producers. I mean, Organized Noise, I told you a little bit about them earlier. Scott Storch, this was a guy who pretty much dominated top 40 for a couple years. I mean, he had hits with 50 Cent, with Fat Joe, with Dr. Dre, with Timbaland. I mean, he's worked with The Roots. Scott Storch has done some everything. Check out Scott Storch. And Dr. Luke, who I want to say he really started under Max Martin, but lately Dr. Luke, he's been caught up in that whole thing with Kesha. So, and I don't know enough about that to really make a comment, but you can look up Dr. Luke and Kesha and that whole thing, that whole lawsuit that's going on. I think it's actually still going on. And last but not least, Manny Fresh. Manny Fresh, who you know from Cash Money. Manny Fresh, he's pretty much stepped out of the public eye for a while. We haven't heard much from him. But I love Manny Fresh and what he's always done. Manny Fresh is simply amazing if you ask me. But as a whole, I really like Boomiverse. Big Boi, he did a lot of great things on this album, and he switches flows so much. And it's funny, Outkast hasn't been around, and you tend to forget how good Big Boi is. Lyrically, he's just as great as he's ever been. I mean, his flows are as impeccable as they always were. I mean, he just flows effortlessly, and it's amazing how he switches from track to track. It's amazing the variety of beats that this guy can rap over. And another thing that also distracted me was the amount of features. I mean, he had features from Snoop Dogg, Killer Mike was on 3 songs, Corrupt, a guy named by the name of Eric Bellinger, Currency, Adam Levine, Sleepy Brown, who's a part of Organized Noise. He's one of the 3. He sung one of the hooks. He had people all over the album, but overall, it's a solid album. I mean, it's definitely what you expect from Big Boi, and Outkast is of that same quality. And I think you definitely won't be disappointed. If you love Outkast, I'm sure you'll love this one. But he speaks about a lot of things. I really didn't get into most of it because I won't say he introduced anything new lyrically. He said a lot of things in a creative way, and he's very aware. He shed some light on some things, and he does it in a comedic way, and that's what I love about Big Boi. He doesn't take himself too serious like a lot of artists out there. But I really enjoyed Boomiverse, and I hope you do too. I suggest that you pick it up. My favorite songs were Kill Jill, Mike Jack, In the South, and probably Follow D's. And also, he did have a couple of funny skits behind, I think it was Made Man and Freakonomics. He had a couple of really funny skits, so check it out. You don't have to love Outkast to like this album, but if you like music, you'll definitely like this one. But check out Big Boi. And audience, I thank you guys for listening. You don't have to be here. You could be anywhere else, but you're listening right now, and I sincerely appreciate it. Again, if you're looking for the podcast, you can find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, and YouTube. And also, you can find the podcast and my takes, my written takes, at jacksjournal.com. That's JACSjournal.com. And also follow me on Twitter at jacksjournal, at JACSjournal. But thanks again, audience, for listening. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Peace.